Alisaie has requested that we meet her in the Rising Stones. She has reached out to the Alchemist Guild and Still Glade Fane. They have attempted all kinds of treatment, but none of them have worked. Whatever ails them, it is not alchemy nor conjury. There is no way to feasibly solve this puzzle without Urianger and Y'shtola. Alphinuad is still missing, and everything is going wrong all at the same time. Where do we even start to fix this? Just like a knight in shining armor, Krile arrives to the Rising Stones, as she couldn't stay away from helping her friends. She wants to examine the patients directly, so she can figure out what to do about their condition. We wait outside and some time passes. Eventually Krile exits the room. Just as Kane Senna said, she couldn't sense their souls. As we describe the feeling of being cold, we felt as if we were in another place entirely. Krile's plan is to do the same thing she did with Thancred, to use Matoya's crystal eye and follow the trail left behind by being called. We decide to pay a visit to Matoya post-haste. Initially she's annoyed that we have come to disturb her solitude again with our problems, but once she learns of what has happened to Y'shtola and the others, she is willing to cooperate. She was an ungrateful stray, but she's her ungrateful stray. She will not see Y'shtola buried before she is. Matoya retrieves the crystal eye, and Krile works her magic and follows the trail left behind by them. But Krile is shocked by the revelation she unveiled. It doesn't make any sense. The trail she had followed had an end, but it was abrupt. It was as if they were cut off. Though we cannot follow the trail, we shouldn't jump to conclusions. Their physical forms are still healthy and alive. They have shown no signs of withering. That must mean that their souls are still intact somewhere else. The real question is, where are they? They have not died, and their souls are not in the ethereal sea. Even though we all try to think of where they might be, not a single person can come up with an answer. While we aren't any closer to a solution, but at least we know their souls are still intact. We just have to keep looking. Alisaie gets a call on her link pearl by Lise. She tells her that a group of populares have defected to Alamigo, including Maxima. That was the envoy Alphinuad left with. Krile will stay behind with Matoya to do some digging, whilst we go to Alamigo to question Maxima. We enter the Alamigan royal palace and find Lise along with the other defectors. Alisaie cannot hold back and demands to know where her brother is, but she shouldn't worry. Her brother was in fine health when he left him. Whilst they crossed the burn, the Emperor's personal guard took out their ship and forced them to do an emergency landing. After they pulled themselves out of the wreckage, they had to continue to fight their attackers. It was here that a third party saved their skin. They met a band of mercs who claimed that they pursue the Ascians. The leader was known as the Shadowhunter. He escorted them out of the burn and brought them to civilization. Maxima grabbed his Populares colleagues and fled the Empire. They wanted to bring Alphinuad along, but he declined. He wanted to continue his investigations into the Ascian threat and joined the Shadowhunter in their endeavor. He cannot divulge any information as to who they are, as they do not provide him with any. All he knows is that they destroy Ascians. Since they left him behind, they've been running away from the Emperor's guard until they made it to Alamigo. Rawban has finally given them refuge here, especially considering that they will give us information on the inner workings of Garlemald itself. With that notion, he actually has quite a lot to say. It seems like they had slaughtered an entire rebel army in a single night. They have given up on trying to put down uprisings peacefully and instead tested out their new weapons on them. This news alone has quelled the flames of the rebellion. There are also reports that the Garleans are mobilizing forces for a large-scale military engagement. They are marching westward to Alamigo. We have been preparing for them to come, but we never expected them to come so soon. Our defenses cannot hold back an invading army. Rawban orders his messengers to send word to the Alliance leaders requesting reinforcements, and to send word to hasten the completion of border fortification. We must prepare to meet the Imperials head on. Once the Imperials are in sight, Rawban wants to arrange a meeting for negotiations, and then he will make those negotiations take as long as possible. That should buy us the time we need. Lise wants us to head to Doma and let Hien know about this. We could also tell him about Alphinuad's condition. We will do it, and we'll send word once. There it is again, this headache, the feeling of someone gripping at your very soul, calling it away from our physical form. The voice can be heard once more. Untold sorrow must be changed. Ahead looms a calamity. Eon become instant. Throw wide the gates. The headache disappears, but both of us are still in our bodies. Luckily, we are still standing, so before we get successfully called, we should visit Hien. We return to the Doman Enclave and enter the Kian Khan. He is currently busy speaking with the newly formed alliance. These people gather here today to stand against the tyranny of the Garlean Empire. That is precisely what we have come here to speak to him about, and this newfound strength will come in handy. We tell him that the Garleans are marching toward Alamigo, and Ugiri backs up our statement, as all the shinobi have been reporting the same thing. Hien wants to send reinforcements, but he cannot do it just yet. Once the wall surrounding the burn has been erected, he will send his aid. The Garland Ironworks engineers have moved into the testing stages of the barrier, and he wants us to attend the test, as we've seen the barrier firsthand as it surrounded Azizla. He wants to see how his compares. We travel to the burn, and the engineers are ready to launch the first test. Hien tells them to start the generator. Aether begins to shimmer from the multiple nodes until a large blast of aether rushes towards the heavens. It sends a minor shockwave around it. Each of the nodes join together and a barrier begins to form. 1,000 yams, 2,000, 3,000 yams high. Its expansion remains stable. The barrier eventually reaches the target altitude of 5,000 yams. The barrier is holding steady, with zero fluctuations. The engineers celebrate their success, but then their celebrations are cut short as an Imperial airship appears in the skyline. Though this is quite the gift, it gives us an opportunity to test the barrier's capabilities. It flies right for us, but collides with the barrier. It cannot cross, so instead it lands on the floor, and outsteps a man. This isn't just some man, but it is the Shadowhunter. He is carrying a limp Alphinuad in his arms. Hien orders them to lower the barrier. We cannot contain ourselves, and both Alisaie and us race over to the Shadowhunter to see Alphinuad's condition. It is the same as the others. He is not dead, but locked in slumber. The Shadowhunter could not identify the cause, so instead he returned him to Doma, or rather Lord Hien himself. Today is a day for fated reunions. Would you not agree, adventurer? Or should he address us as the warrior of light? We look at his hip and we see a mask. It is a very familiar mask, and then it hits us. This man is Gaius von Balzar, the Black Wolf. It was the title he was given, but he has since relinquished it. The legatus of the 14th Imperial Legion died in Castrum Meridianum. He is now Gaius Balzar, a man without rank or allegiance. As for how he survived, he was being deceived by La Habrea into thinking that Ultima Weapon would allow him to bring peace to Eorzea. Yet even with Ultima Weapon at his command, we bested him, and as the Praetorium went up in flames, he was content with being burnt along with it, at least just for a moment. Then he thought about all the people who died for his cause. To surrender his life like this would have been a betrayal to them. So instead he dragged himself free from the rubble and swore vengeance on the Ascians. The Black Wolf has shed its pelt, never to return to Garlemald or her legions. He now lives only to exact revenge. His main target was La Habrea, but from what he can gather, he is gone. But even with La Habrea gone, so many more remain. He would see to it that every single one is dragged from the shadows and brought into the light. In this respect, his single goal isn't too far from what the Scions also want to achieve, at least when it comes to dealing with the Ascians. So Gaius will continue what Alphino started to do, and share what knowledge he has gained on them. Among the Ascians, there are those who wear black masks. They are subordinate to those who wear red, yet even among the red, there exists a hierarchy. There are those who are attached to the source. For example, Nabriales was powerful, but when compared to the top Ascians, he is nothing. These Ascians are free from the chains of Source. They are fully powered, unsundered. The first was Laha Brea. There is the emissary, Elidibus, and finally, there is the ever-elusive Emmet Selk. We have never heard of this Emmet Selk before. As we are sharing information, we tell him about the evidence we have to assume that an Ascian is puppeteering Zenos' body. He assumes it is Elidibus. As his role of the emissary, it is up to him to maintain the balance between darkness and light. We have upset the balance by making the light too powerful. He now seeks to restore that imbalance. He was hunting Elidibus, and whilst on his trail, they came across a scene of a failed uprising. They were all slaughtered, with no sign of injury. They used an alchemical weapon known as the Black Rose. When he had power, he ordered the production of it to be halted and the stockpiles to be destroyed. Toxic gas is not a tool of conquest, but of extermination. The Black Rose was what Maxima was speaking of earlier. Alisaie fears that they would use it against us in Alamigo, but luckily for us, they infiltrated the production facility and have already destroyed all of their existing stockpiles. They will have to rebuild operations and start manufacturing new batches from scratch. They had also found a directive in the facility, which was signed by Zenos himself. But the tale doesn't end there. There is a chamber filled with Allagan cloning technology, and in every incubator, there is a young version of Emperor Solus. Which now opens up so many questions. Were the Ascians responsible for this, or was this the will of the Empire? Gaius seeks to know which one guides the Empire, but for now, it is time for him to return to hunting shadows. Let us focus on our common foe. He's right, there are more important matters at hand. There was a time where Gaius scorned us for placing our faith in false gods, but he was doing the same thing. He placed his in Ascian promises. Unlike ours, his strength of will and his restraint were found wanting. We will meet again, Warrior of Light. Gaius returns to his aircraft and leaves the burn. We return to the Kian Khan. Alphinud's condition is exactly the same as the others. It seems like even though he was in Garlemald, he could not escape the voice, but Alisaie should continue her scion duties for her and her brother. Then back to the business at hand. Seeing as Seiryu's wall is in working condition, then we can rely on his reinforcements in the battle to come. To which he replies yes, though it will take some time for them to move, as they will have to go by sea. Meanwhile, at the Black Rose chemical plant, a Magitech engineer tells Varys that a new batch of Black Rose will be ready by the time of the offensive. Something we were hoping wasn't true. Solus is here to monitor Varys. He had heard of the Black Rose, this airborne poison. He is happy that Varys is capable of making decisions worthy of the bloodline. If it spared the needless deaths of his soldiers and served the cause of the Empire, there is no tactic Varys won't use. Solus mocks him, stating that he is playing the role of the Emperor so well that even he is starting to believe it, which Varys is angered to hear. Solus thinks to himself for a moment, a silent agent of death, the Black Rose may possess the perfect aspect. Slowly but surely, the deluge of light has worked upon the aether here in the source, and the gas should be most susceptible to its influence. So this deluge of light is what's causing the aether to thin on the source. The voice in our head was warning us. Ahead looms a calamity. Ahead looms light, expunging all form and life. But how does this link with the Black Rose? From what Solus said, it seems like it will increase its potency because of what is happening to the source. Still, there is so much we don't know. Where is this deluge of light coming from? And why is it affecting the source? And how is this going to create a calamity? Solus leaves Varys alone to continue to bloody the land with his grand and glorious war. Varys stops him, asking what he is going to do. What Ascians always do. He knows that Ascians exist only to usher in the next calamity, but he seems blind to the harm he causes to the Empire. He must have noticed the events which followed his death. It brought the homeland into a civil war because Solus didn't name a successor. The empire he created was close to collapsing. But Solus was aware the entire time. He was not oblivious to the consequences of his departure. It was on purpose. The resulting panic succeeded even his expectations. But how was anyone surprised? The nation was built to throw the world into disarray. It only seems fitting he did it the way he did. And with that, he leaves. But before he leaves, he remembers he may not see Varys again in this lifetime, so he offers up a word of gratitude. He thanks him for providing him with a surplus of vessels, which were created by Varys dabbling in Allagan cloning technologies. Of all the people he could have cloned, he chose the founding father to experiment on. He has a twisted streak in him, just like grandsire and grandson. If everything goes as planned, Varys will command from the top, whilst Solus controls and holds everything steady from below. They will shed light on the lie that is the star's existence. We leave to Alamigo to speak with Rawban on the front lines. The Alliance have gathered in this base camp. It is lively, with people rushing around everywhere trying to set up defenses for the incoming invasion. We report to the tent where Lys and Rawban are. We have brought Hien along with us. They have been using all the men they can to fortify their defenses, and they're close to being finished, which is a good thing to hear. In other news, Alphinaud has come back to us. However, we tell him about Alphinaud's condition, along with the information Gaius told us, that the Empire has poisonous gas which will be used to wipe out the resistance. The Black Rose fits the description Maxima talked about. It seems like Alphinaud's bravery has saved us from an early demonstration of its effectiveness. Now that we know what to expect, we can think of countermeasures to prevent it. As for Gaius, Rawban isn't happy that he's alive, but at least he's living his life hunting Ashians. Speaking of Garleans, when they sent envoys to request peace talks, the message they received was that Varys Zos Galvus would be attending them. Yes, the Emperor himself. We're not wont to believe his words, but we are attending it to buy time. We need to delay the attack so that we can make sure the fortifications are as ready as they can be. One condition for the talks is that a member of the Scions be present, along with one representative from each allied nation. Therefore, Alisaie will have to come along. And the reason we couldn't represent the Scions is because he specifically requested Eorzea's champion to be present, so we'll be there as well. Then it's settled. The meeting will take place on the border. As all the leaders are ready, we leave to the front lines and start our peace talks with Varys. He thanks the Eorzean Alliance for the invitation and requests that they speak first, as they were the ones who invited him. Nanamo is the first to speak up. Recent events in Alamigo and Doma have shown that the enslaving of neighboring nations is not a sustainable policy. If today was to end in war, he may win, but he can never extinguish the people's desire for freedom. Maybe he won't see another uprising in his lifetime, but eventually they will fight. This cycle will never end if we do not break it here. Doma has entered into a partnership with Eorzea. Garlemald can do the same. All they have to do is stop what they're doing and join us in creating peace. Her argument will not win Varys over. Yes, it is plausible, but it is misleading. The Alliance lacks the strength to keep the peace, even within its own borders. The Beastmen continue to plight our realms. We are already divided. We try to work together, and instead given discord and chaos. Eorzea must be united under one leader, one purpose. Join him, and he will bring an end to our troubles. The only thing Varys has offered to the people of Alamigo was fear and hopelessness. Doma can also agree to this testimony. There is no purpose in life when you are under oppression. People are willing to die for their freedom. Many have, and many more will if we do not stop this madness now. Varys ponders for a second and then responds. The Imperials brought order and stability to their lives. This madness and bloodshed is because we broke the peace, not Garlemald. Rawban snaps back. What peace? They killed our people and plundered the lands. Does he expect them to just accept what's happened? Varys expects us to weigh the loss, to recognize that countless lives have been lost. We shouldn't squander all that has been achieved like a child. Imric can attest to the dangers of pursuing one's vision with righteous fervor. For 1,000 years, Ishgard had waged war against the dragons. For 1,000 years, both sides had lost many lives, and there was much sorrow and hate. They were bathed in the blood of friend and foe. The nation couldn't handle it any longer, but they have since made peace with the dragons. Varys understands his perspective. I bet the dragons were more receptive to peace once they learned of Nidhogg's demise. He speaks of peace, but uses war to achieve it. His father would not have tried to hide his true intent. He knew that strength was the only thing that mattered. Without his clarity of vision, he can only wonder what will become of Ishgard and her people. There was a time where Garlemald lacked a leader. They were weak and unable to use magic, which meant that they were at the mercy of those who could. They could only find refuge in the bitter cold of Ilzabad. If they did not discover ceruleum and used it to create their magitech, they would have never gained the power to take back what was theirs. Merylweb can agree to this story. It's not as if his people are the only ones who were driven from their homes. Limsa Lominsa was also built by wayward souls who had to flee their homeland of Arslan after failing a coup d'etat against a tyrant. They found their home on the shores of Vilbrand, and they did this without robbing their neighbors. Did the kobolds give them their land for free? Are you sure you didn't drive them out like rats by using the ship seized by your fellow pirates? He'll agree that their reclamation may look like an invasion, but it is not. We have stolen his soil in the past. We cannot object when they do the same back to us. Carne Senna has experienced this uncompromising nature. It rivals that of the Ixal. They also lamented at their circumstance, but they were the ones who made us do something. Were they to throw down their weapons and embrace peace, they would have been welcomed. In fact, some have done just that, and can now enjoy of the 12's Wood's bounty. The Garlean should look to them for their example. Varys chuckles at that remark. We would dare compare them to birdmen. You, who would invoke the 12 and threaten all of creation. He came here hoping to find some kind of common ground, but he sees that these discussions will accomplish nothing. Despite what we believe, he would rather choose the olive branch over the sword, but men do not want to accept one without first being shown the other. Wait, this meeting was supposed to be a chance to move forward together, not to recount the missteps that brought us here in the first place. If he believes that violence is a last resort, then there has to be some way we can come to an agreement. Nanamo suggests that we take a short recess and allow everyone to compose themselves. Then we will begin the meeting, as if this didn't happen. Varys accepts. He hopes this intermission will allow these talks to move in a more constructive direction. That meeting went horribly. There is no way to sugarcoat it, really. All the leaders hold a grudge against Varys. It was probably taking them everything they could not to hit him. But there is one thing we know for certain. He did not come here trying to find common ground. Then what did he come here to do? Why even attend this meeting? Even though they renounced the revering of gods, the Radiance is the only one who is to be revered in Garlemald, which is quite the hypocrisy. The Empire knows everything about us, but in return, we know nothing about their inner workings. If we shed some light on his discrepancies, maybe Varys will reveal something. This time we'll try the meeting a second time. Instead of taking out our anger on him, this time we have a plan in mind. Nanamo again is the first to speak up. She apologizes for the way we acted in the previous meeting. Merylweb was surprised with how much Varys knew about our affairs, yet we know nothing of his. Rawbarn understands a desire to reclaim one's homeland, but why expand further? Ian can explain some of it, as it was taught in the Imperial doctrine. They have recognized the threat of the Icons, and Solus Zos Galvus decreed all of them should be eradicated. To this end, he campaigned to unite all the lands under the Garlean banner. Yet the Emperor only reached the burn after they conquered all that lay between it. The practice of summoning was not as widespread when the Empire was founded. If you put it like that, then it starts to sound like an excuse. But to distract from what? Lys questions their motive for the war. Why are they waging it? Barriss sits in silence for a moment and eventually smiles. Finally, we ask the right question. He can only hope that we listen to his answer and accept the righteousness of their cause.
My goal is this: to return the world to the way it once was, the way it was always meant to be. In doing so, mankind will be made whole once more. No longer will we suffer from the dissension born of our differences. There will be but one race, a perfect race, as we were when time began. I am talking about the origins of the star, of the source and its 13 reflections. At the instant of the great sundering, 'twas not only the world that was shattered, but mankind itself. Thus were we divided into myriad races, each with its own unique imperfections. That is why man looks upon his neighbor and feels fear and hatred, why he wages war, why he kills his brother. You all in your own way have proven as much today. The peace you seek is but a fleeting solution to a fundamental problem. One which calls for more drastic measures. To bring about everlasting peace, our worlds must be rejoined. That is the goal the Empire would see realized. The glorious future unto which we shall one day shepherd mankind.
A rejoining of worlds?
I have heard this tale of the Source and its reflections before.
Are these not the selfsame desires as the Ascians?
Emperor Varys! Do not trust in their words. They will lead you to your doom. My father thought to use them, but in the end he succumbed to their temptations. He embraced summoning like so many other pawns before him. Do not tell us you mean to do the same.
To be a pawn, free from the burden of choice, would be a blessing. But I forswore that privilege the day I learned that the Garlean Empire was built by the hand of an Ascian.
What?
Yes. My grandsire, the former emperor, is of their number. And who better to build an empire capable of bringing about the calamitous change we desire? Would you condemn me for this alliance? For bowing to the will of these shadowy masters, when the prize is true and lasting peace?
We would. His prize is a lie. His masters are demons. We will stop him and the Ascians, no matter the costs.
I come not to conquer, but to liberate. To free man from the prison of divergence. Imagine a world united. One perfect race beneath a single standard. An army before whose might these servants of darkness and light would fly as leaves in a storm, never again to meddle in man's affairs. We would be the masters of our own fate. I bid you join me. Not as subjects of Garlemald, but of a new nation. And together we shall win freedom for ourselves and generations yet unborn.
This means that he wants to trigger another 5 calamities. All of us here today have seen the destruction wrought by the 7th Umbral Calamity firsthand. The amount of people who were killed in that tragedy. Would there even be people left alive in the end? There is no way we would ally ourselves with his cause. It is unthinkable and immoral. He snaps at all of us. What is the alternative? To be cattle waiting for slaughter. He would have us work together so that we can take fate into our own hands. Into your hands, but what of the other worlds? As of right now, there are 5 reflections remaining. With every calamity we cause, we would obliterate an entire star. Think of how complex our own world is, with their own meanings to life. We cannot kill every soul on that star willingly. Varys stops smiling. To the Ascians, we are nothing but momentary specks in an indifferent universe. We cannot hope to oppose them as we are. We need to be made whole. Are these truly the words of Garlemald's ruler? These flaws which he hates are what makes us who we are. Every nation is made whole through the combination of these imperfections, the strengths of one compensating the weaknesses of others. Man may succumb to anger and avarice, but he can overcome his basic instinct by forming bonds with others and fostering a community with cooperation. That the protector of the Empire is not only rejecting these truths, but seeking to change them by committing calamities is unjustifiable. A man like this is not fit to govern. Everyone has refused his cause. What of us, the warrior of light? What do we say? We cannot condone such a loss of life. We can defeat the Ascians as we are. And that is something that we are all in agreement with. The Alliance is of one mind in this matter. Varys has always been disappointed by the Eorzeans, but then again, he shouldn't expect much from savages. This discussion is over. We should prepare for our next meeting. However, it will not be at the negotiating table. With that, we leave to prepare for war. We may have had lofty reasons for fighting the Garleans before, but hearing those words from the Emperor himself has truly given us newfound purpose. We cannot allow the Empire to win here. To do so will not only be the loss of this star, but for the other reflections. Even with our combined strength, we may not be able to stop them, but we have always known that the odds were against us. If there's even a 1% chance at victory, we will do everything we can to seize it. Nay, we must seize it. Full stop. The Scions will join an irregular unit to support the main group. Ian asks that we join the domed contingent, as they do not know these lands, but they will feel more at ease with us and their team. The hour of battle has come. May the crystal guide us to victory. For those who travel between Alphinuad and Ilzabad, there is only one path, and it leads to Gimlet. It comprises harsh terrain, and the aetheroclimactic conditions have shrouded the land in darkness. It is here the decisive battle for Eorzea begins. We are joined by our far eastern allies. The Eorzean Alliance battles to fight back the endless waves of Imperial troops. To change the tide of the battle, we, the Warrior of Light, have been called to the fray. But will we prevail in this land, long since lost to the light? We fight our way through many Imperials and their Magitech creations, until eventually we are met by Julia and Anya Quo Soranus. The Quo in their name refers to their rank, which is Centurion. They could also be seen stood next to the throne, whilst Solus spoke about him being an Ascian, so they are very high up in the Empire. We defeat them both, but they escape with the use of a flashbang, stating that they have served their purpose, to which we assume they meant delaying us. Alisaie, Hien and Ugiri follow not too far behind us, though they didn't have to do much fighting, as we had already taken care of it. We should keep pushing, try to finish them off whilst we still have a chance. Imagine the others' surprise when they wake up to see that we had already won the war. It's back. The throbbing headache. It calls to us. The light will expunge all life. Only you can forestall the calamity. Throw wide the gates. Again, we are not taken, but Alisaie is. Which means that we are the last one remaining. We have won, but this exchange was nothing more than a test of strength. With our aid, the line remains unbroken, but Alisaie has been successfully called. For now, the Imperials do not move. There are no current signs of an offensive being made. Except, meanwhile at the border of Alamigo, we can see that Zenos, or rather, Elidibus himself has joined the fray. This battle just got a lot harder. We were given a brief reprieve and were allowed to rest in the Rising Stones, as we wouldn't be quite useful without some kind of rest. An Alliance herald comes to tell us to return to the Alliance headquarters, as they have something to discuss with us. He tells us that the war has been going steadily. Neither side has managed to land a decisive blow. He presumed the Garleans would flatten us, but we seem to be gaining ground. Yet, we do not know why they haven't committed all of their forces. There has been news that Varys has retreated to Garlemald. Therefore, Rawbarn has decided to launch a new offensive to push the line forward and to give us some room to breathe. A soldier rushes to the table to report that the defense to the east has been breached. Their forces are being led by none other than Zenos. He and Enlise are trying to provide what support they can, but who knows how long they will last. If worst comes to worst, Rawbarn will have to enter the fight himself. But what about us? Do we have the strength to fight? So long as you leave the Ascian to me. Again, the voice reappears, accompanied by the headache. Why won't they open? Please, I bid you open. Luckily, we didn't get called. It would have been quite the inopportune time to do so. Still, we agreed to go and fight Zenos, and we'll do just that. We can see that Hien and company have found their way to Zenos. They prepare themselves for the hardest battle to come. Hien can clash swords with Zenos, but his strength is inferior to that of a Garlean. Yugiri tries to aid him, but she is sent cascading away by magic. Hien breaks free from the clash, but is knocked off of his feet by a single strike. Lee sprints towards him and delivers a blow to his face which cracks his helmet and causes a singular blue eye to pierce through the hole. Infuriated by this, he casts magic. We are moving as fast as we can to get to the location where Zenos is. Not a single person is left standing after that magic. To have the strength of a Garlean's body mixed with the ability to manipulate Aether, it is hardly fair. Somehow Hien manages to get to his feet, but immediately collapses again. Zenos approaches him, intending to end his life. But finally, we make our way to the battlefield and get in between him and Zenos. He remarks that it has been too long, bringer of light. Do we have no words to mark our reunion? So be it. Equilibrium must be restored, and only our death will redress the balance. A battle between the Warrior of Light against Zenos, nay, Elidibus, has begun. In this battle, nobody is holding back. He tires of our interference and demands it is time we pass. We think we know the dark, but he will show us its true nature. With Zenos' adamant flesh on his side, his potential is without limit. But just as we have bested Laha Brea, in the end, we were able to best Elidibus. His body lies on the floor, unmoving, but the Ascian makes the body move once more. He commends Hydaelyn for choosing her champion well, yet for all of our strength, we will still fail. He launches us backwards with an attack, which doesn't knock us off of our feet. We sprint towards him, preparing ourselves for the next attack. No, not now. The voice has returned at the worst possible moment it could. The words yet again echo in our mind. Please, I beseech you. We try to stand to our feet, ignoring the pain, but it is impossible. Elidibus confirms the notion that the Ascians are not behind this, as even he is surprised that someone is calling to us. However, this is an opening he cannot ignore. He takes this opportunity to approach us. He raises his blade above his head and strikes for the final blow. As the blade is about to make contact with us, our vision blacks out. Instead, we awake somewhere that looks like the ethereal sea. The unknown voice speaks to us directly. At last, he has found us. The unknown voice actually has a form now, though. We can see a man who hides his face with a hood. His skin is partially mixed with crystal, and he wields a staff. He tells us that there is no cause for alarm, but this is not where he had intended us to meet. Either way, it does not matter. Just like the war that is currently being waged. Whether we win or lose, in the end, it will all lead to oblivion. The better path will lead us to him. He has need of our strength. We don't even know who he is. He has to send us back now. We were in the middle of something. The battle is over. The danger has passed, but our work is not yet done. He tells us to go to the Crystal Tower. He has left something there for us somewhere near its base. It will serve as a beacon of sorts, one that will help us on our journey. All we need to do is find it. Once it is ours, he will do the rest. Soon, we will throw wide the gates, and the path to the first will be ours to walk at last. With that, he sends us back, and instead we awake in an Ishgardian infirmary. The nearby physician leaves to call Imeric, who returns to our room with haste. What happened? Where is Zenos? In the middle of the battle, we had faltered. Zenos took that moment to deliver the final blow. Yet right before he could do it, he was stopped by a third party, who brought us to the Chirurgeons. The third party in question was Estinian. He isn't one for emotional farewells, so he left before we woke up. Zenos was worn out after our battle. He retreated right after Estinian rescued us. The remaining Imperials followed not too far behind him, allowing us to re-establish our defenses once more. The other provinces have also reignited their desire for revolution after being inspired by the Eorzean Alliance and our Far Eastern allies. There is also news that there is unrest within the Imperial Court itself, which explains why Varys and Zenos have abandoned the fight. Finally, a long-awaited ray of hope in these dark times. What of the scions? None of their conditions have improved, but instead we should focus on our own recovery. We carry the hopes and dreams of 6 nations. No one person is without their limits. Leave this fight to them. We have earned our rest. Before he forgets, he has a message to deliver to us. Though many of our allies are out of commission, you are not alone. When we are well, we should return home to where your friends will be waiting for you. We move to the Rising Stones, our home, and we are greeted by many of our friends who are glad to see that we awoke from our condition. Tataru had left the Ruby Bazaar and rushed back here ever since she got word that we collapsed just like the rest of the scions. We tell the rest of them what the mysterious man told us in that vision we had right before Zenos struck us down. Win or lose, the path you walk leads only to oblivion. The better path leads to him. This man must be the voice we've been hearing the entire time. In fact, our friends must be with him. The war is currently at a stalemate, but if Zenos returns, we will be hard-pressed to fight against him alone. We need the help of our comrades if we want a chance at beating him. The man told us he left a beacon somewhere near the Crystal Tower. The tower has been sealed shut ever since our escapades quite some time ago, but if anyone is to know anything, it will be the people of St. Conach's Find and Sid. But don't worry, the rest of the scions will find that beacon for us. In the meantime, we should rest and gather our strength for what's to come. Meanwhile, in the Imperial Palace, once again we are greeted by the familiar sight of the throne room. We see Varys speaking to Zenos. Zenos hopes Varys has a good reason for leaving the front lines. He couldn't remain on the front lines whilst the rumor that his son is possessed by a demon spreads like wildfire here. He will not fight for the throne a second time. But what of him? He said he could defeat Eorzea's champion with ease, yet here he is, and the champion still lives. It was a minor setback. He will not escape him again. Where is Solace? Zenos needs to speak with him. Why would Varys know? He hasn't seen him since the last time they spoke. He must have found a way to take advantage of the commotion. Varys' face shifts. Men are not pawns to be played with. He underestimates us. This war will not be decided by them, but by man. Man will decide their own fate. Varys will do everything he can to make sure Garlemald emerges victorious. Zenos doesn't respond to him, and instead leaves the throne room. A Magitech engineer appears to tell Varys that the preparations are now complete. They stand ready to begin the production of the Black Rose. All they need is his word. Varys glances at him. Then he thinks long and hard while staring at the sigil of the Garleans. His face contorts into a sinister smile, knowing that his all-life-consuming toxic gas is ready to be used upon the people of Eorzea. We see the same Elizon we saw in the ending prior. He is again standing above the body of a fallen resistance soldier. He opens his eyes, and we can see the same eyes Zenos and Y'shtola have when they use their resonance. If he had only been a step faster, it is a pity that our hunt leads us elsewhere. Not that he isn't surprised. May we find joy in it, grow stronger, more savage, and savor every triumph. In the meantime, he will reclaim that which was rightfully his. In the midst of a requiem for heroes, a voice rings out across space and time. In fields of tranquil light, sow you seeds of darkness.